Today's video is about financial trauma. Now, trauma around finances is actually one of the most devastating forms of trauma we have within Western society. I've had partners who've had really heavy, severe financial trauma, and I've experienced it for a period in my own life as well. Now, what was shocking to me was that when I was searching things around financial trauma, there was hardly little to no information about this topic. Now, that is surprising because it's estimated within various studies that over 20% of people have PTSD-like symptoms related to finances, and actually over a third of millennials have experienced financial PTSD. So what is financial trauma? Well, it occurs when our sense of safety, our sense of self, our security or stability is threatened due to finances, right? This often happens when 3 months of income is not good enough to cover our expenses. So we will enter into a state of fight or flight, right? There will be denial, avoidance, hypervigilance, and then we can even have nightmares or night terrors around the concept of finances, right? You are literally within this hypervigilant state. So the human body is not meant to be in a state of stress 24/7. We are only supposed to go in there for pockets of times and then come out. But when you are in financial stress, when you are in financial turmoil, your physiology is amped up into a stress state 24/7, right? We cannot meet any of our other needs until our basic material needs are taken care of. But when that is constantly threatened, not only are you always in a hypervigilant state, right? Your nervous system's always in the sympathetic fight or flight, but you can't address anything. You can't tap into your creativity. You can't tap into this ventral state where you're socially engaged. Financial stress and financial turmoil really rips apart in so many different areas of your life. And if it occurred in childhood, the symptoms from financial trauma are likely to be much more severe. And that's because as a child, you're even more helpless and powerless, right? You can't necessarily do anything. So what are some signs that you've been through financial trauma? Those who have PTSD-like symptoms relative to finances will often carry this deep, pervasive shame, right? They feel like they are less worthy than their peers, all right? And this can actually be magnified if you possibly grew up in a neighborhood where people were much wealthier than you, right? It's kind of weird, it's kind of contradictory, right? You think you'd be better off in a wealthy neighborhood. But relative to the symptomology with financial trauma, that's not necessarily the case, all right? It's like you also can feel like you're unworthy of financial stability, or that financial stability is just unfeasible. When you've experienced a life of financial chaos, where bills weren't met, where collection agencies were constantly calling the house growing up, right? Where you had to go some meals without eating, okay? The concept, I mean, this behavior becomes normalized. So the concept of you being able to create financial stability in your own life is very difficult, and these core beliefs get stuck in us, and we can self-sabotage from even bringing in financial abundance because we don't feel like we're worthy of it. There can also become the flip side of this equation, where you become obsessed with becoming wealthy. It becomes tunnel vision, okay? All you are concerned about is doing wealthier than your peers because this is how you're acting out that deep, pervasive shame. You feel like you're less than worthy than your peers because of your financial difficulties growing up, and so you want to overcompensate, all right? Now, this can also present itself as an overfixation or an avoidance relative to anything bill-wise or budgeting, okay? So if you've been through financial trauma, you can be dissecting every little dollar you spent, right? Oh my God, I spent the $3 on coffee. Is something bad going to happen? Or you can neglect and avoid going to anything financial altogether because it triggers you into this fight or flight response and you just want to step out. And that's another thing. When anything financial related triggers this hypervigilant fight or flight response, you clearly have symptomologies of a financial trauma, all right? So that means you become constricted, your heart rate rises, right? You feel hyper aware. If anything financial triggers that, there's some trauma based in finances for you, right? You could also have difficulty regulating your emotions tied to anything financial, okay? So it's just like, it's an intense state of fear, right? Anytime any financial stress or turmoil comes up, all right? There's also feelings of guilt when we spend anything beyond our basic needs, right? If you had to scrunch and make the best of every little dollar growing up, spending on yourself and for your own self-care can bring about deep feelings of shame and guilt and like you're doing something wrong. On the other side of that, we can go to the other extreme where we spend way beyond our means to overcompensate for the shame and guilt that we are feeling, right? So how do we heal financial trauma? The first part is just awareness. We need to begin to notice when we enter into fight or flight responses relative to anything financial related. We also need to begin to bring our awareness to limiting beliefs we have around finances. Do you not believe you're worthy of money? Do you not believe you're worthy of taking care of your bills and finances and you need to be in a constant state of chaos? We need to draw our awareness to it and bring it in, right? And then we need to breathe into these feelings, calm the body down, and then recognize what is the emotion lying beyond this, right? Because we're perceiving the past to be in the present moment relative to our financial difficulties, right? You're likely not a child anymore, or that period of financial difficulties is not happening right now. So you likely repressed emotions as a child to survive, but now is the moment to feel the powerlessness and helplessness, because that's what it feels when you're constantly on the verge of possibly being evicted or not making rent or not being able to afford groceries. I mean, there's a time in my life where I couldn't afford to buy the groceries I couldn't afford to buy the groceries. I kept handing the card and he kept removing more groceries and kept getting denied. And I had to feel the repressed emotions behind that event, right? Feel into the shame, feel into the guilt, feel how scary it was, and then release it. And then we need to begin to install new beliefs around finances. I really haven't talked about this before, but theta healing is an alternative form of healing that is great for instilling new belief systems, okay? Also, we need to lean into the discomfort and find a balance between obsession and avoidance relative to anything financial, okay? We're gonna probably be swinging in opposite directions for a little bit. We need to address our finances, but we can't become obsessed about it. And lastly, we need to just create more positive beliefs around money. We in Western society have put money, this intangible object really, right, on a pedestal. But money is simply energy. It's simply energy we exchange for the effort that someone put into something for us, okay? It's nothing more than that. So when you stop putting money on this severe pedestal, which I understand is really difficult when you have trauma around money, but when you can get to that place where you're not putting money on a pedestal, it begins to flow through your life much more easily. All right, thank you for watching this video. I hope it was helpful. Please make sure to subscribe to my YouTube channel. And yeah, thanks for watching, guys.